Okay, so it seems like we got another article from the Wuthering Waves CEO Solon. Now, this is an actually different one. So I know there was an article that came out a couple of days ago. I covered that on my channel recently about them talking about some possibilities of new platforms, everything like that. But this is a separate article done by Game Radar Plus, and is actually a completely new one. This isn't like from the CN one or whatever it was from last time, but they pretty much start off this article by saying issues encountered during the initial launch are the genuine part of the game's history. Wuthering Waves producer on the road to 2.0 and the open world action RPG's biggest update yet. So they say this is an interview with Solon, and then they have a little bit of a filler kind of text here saying that, you know, they had a couple of technical errors at the start and everything, you know, wasn't great, but they have been working on a lot of really important updates, which, you know, Kuro Games have been doing a really, really good job at. And Wuthering Waves have been continually improving. And now Rinascita is like here, you know, it's the start of like almost like a new start, you know? And so they start off with this thing called Onwards to Rinascita. They say, the game reader, actual interviewer, said, "How do you feel about the current state of Wuthering Waves in its community? Are you more comfortable than a few months ago?" And Solon says, "Definitely. We are indeed continuously moving in a positive direction. From our perspective, the key changes lies in mutual understanding we've started to build with our players. Two clear examples: we're beginning to learn how to better connect with our players, and number two, players are beginning to understand the mindset and philosophy behind our game development approach. In early days, we saw negative feedback in our global communities. This was partly because we weren't meeting our expectations, but also because players didn't yet know what to expect from us or our vision for the future," which again is totally fine. You know, a lot of people were like, "Oh crap, you know, this is kind of bad that they are messing up so early on in the game," but they have managed to prove themselves, and it seems like the overall understanding from global and also just all the players is kind of, you know, going up. And they say now, for 4 updates later, players have gained a clear understanding of our approach to operating Wuthering Waves. As players experience more positive moments in the game and gain insights into our future plans through our communications, the community naturally feels more supportive and aligned overall, which again, you know, is very like representative of a lot of the content that's coming out, not just from me, but also from other content creators being very positive about the game recently, which is great to see. They say, that said, negative feedback and concerns will always exist, and I don't see that as a bad thing. On the contrary, they're crucial for us, as this feedback informs and drives our team as we work on future updates. In many ways, I believe that constructive criticism is essential to fostering a stronger and more positive experience for everyone, which is really good to see. It seems like they are taking on a lot of that kind of criticism, and, you know, even if it's constructive or not constructive, you know, they can at least just take that in and be like, okay, maybe we need to change this, maybe we need to change that, which they have been doing. You know, we've seen it in a lot of cases, especially with Rinascita. Now, let's go into the next bit. They say, looking at player feedback, what are the biggest lessons you've learned since launch? They say, when we consistently engage in this kind of work, we generally feel that users' recognition, which is also clearly reflected in the players' feedback and the game's growth. This gives us confidence that we are gradually figuring out how to create a long-term open-world service-oriented game. Of course, the industry changes rapidly, and our user demands are constantly evolving. Therefore, in a constantly changing environment, we're continuing to listen to our users. We will also maintain our ability to think and adjust with agility. And then they go on to say, overall, how will 2.0 actually compare to the previous updates? And they say the goal of Wuthering Waves is to resolve the hidden crisis of Solaris under the lead of the players. The planet is reborn because of them. The entire world of Solaris is actually very vast, with many different countries and cultures. Each country offers unexpected and fresh experiences. Version 2.0 is a beginning, allowing players to feel the uniqueness between nations and to gain a deeper understanding of Solaris, which again, I think is great. Obviously, I've always said, I think they're kind of going for that Genshin Impact kind of feel, where they like release regions every single version or every, you know, other version or whatever they want to do. You know, they keep releasing them that players can keep, you know, going to, and it gives them a new fresh experience, which I think is great. I think that kind of, you know, way of doing it actually works. You know, that's something that Genshin Impact is actually doing really good at. And, you know, obviously this is only just the start. Rinascita is the first new kind of region for this. Now they say version 2.0 will introduce the complex relationship between echoes and humans, new movement mechanics, new cultures and customs, and of course, there'll be many new characters that will completely surprise everyone, and this is just the beginning. So again, very exciting. They say, how will update 2.0 build on what Wuthering Waves does well, and what will it do to improve and refine the game in areas where it has more room to grow? And they say, when we launched, we received a lot of feedback pointing out that our early storyline was dragging. In response, we added a feature to skip dialogue in the story, which was well received. In version 2.0, we've introduced a new feature that allows players to jump straight into the 2.0 storyline and map from a specific quest node in the early stage of the game. We believe this is to be a much more convenient feature for returning players, which I do think is true. I think maybe they should have added that skip button a bit later. I've said this in a couple of videos, but honestly, I do think it is good for getting a lot of returning players back, because some people did get bored by some of that early story, so maybe they just want to move straight onto Rinascita and get going. Hopefully they do have some kind of summary or whatever to kind of keep them up to date with the actual story, because I feel like the past story is going to kind of impact the future story as well, even if it is by a little bit, you know, because the whole reason they are going to Rinascita is because they're trying to find out what's wrong with Abby and everything like that. So it does kind of tie into the previous story. Now they say, although we believe in traversing the map in Wuthering Waves is already a relatively enjoyable experience, for instance, with unlimited stamina for running and sprint feature introduced in later updates, we've yet to make significant optimizations for aerial movement. In version 2.0, we're officially introducing the flight feature, enabling players to freely soar through the skies at high speed, greatly enhancing both the efficiency and thrill of exploration, which I think is great. There's a lot of people complaining about, like, why is it region locked and everything like that. I don't think it's that much of a problem, just mainly because the exploration has actually been fine in the kind of, Huanglong area. And I think Rinascita is going to struggle a little bit more just because of the massive cliffs and everything like that, which we've seen. So I feel like it's not that big of a deal because people haven't had an issue with it before. It's just with Rinascita, they may struggle a little bit more. So they've added these gliders, they've added these kind of flying mechanics to the game, which I think is great. Now they say, after some of the issues at launch, does 2.0 represent a soft relaunch for Wuthering Waves, a fresh jumping on point for new players? Which is a really good question, as, Zenless Zone Zero we've seen recently, they've had a relaunch which did very, very well, and, you know, they kind of marketed it as a relaunch. I seen there was a Giguk video out where he actually got sponsored by them, and he actually called it a relaunch, which means the company told him to say that this was almost like a soft relaunch for the game, whereas it seems like with this, well, we'll go into the reply, it doesn't seem to be, you know, as much of a relaunch. But they say, I might not consider this as a soft relaunch for a long-term operational game that emphasizes its IP. I believe the issues encountered during the initial launch are a genuine part of the game's history, which obviously we saw in the title of this article. They say many players will always remember Wuthering Waves from that period. It will always be a part of the journey from versions 1.0 to 1.4, and now moving on to 2.0. I believe players can get a clearer sense of the game's overall vision and its ongoing commitment to improvement, correction, and progress. The goal is to bring meaningful changes and surprises to everyone. Now Wuthering Waves is increasingly being recognized as a game that is constantly evolving. So again, I think that's actually a really good way to go about it, because again, it's not like they're trying to shovel all of this other stuff that they've done in the past. They are proud of a lot of the work that they've done for version 1.0. Again, it could have been improved a little bit more, but they're not like scared to just say, oh, we're just going to relaunch the game. Sorry, it was bad. Like they're not scared to say that. So again, I think that's really cool that they do actually like acknowledge that it was bad in the past, but now they've come a long way. And they say, if for instance Wuthering Waves makes another mistake in the future, of course we'll do our utmost to avoid the situation. In that case, our players will have trust and more patience with the team and the game, because, you know, the trust and recognition have already been established. Similarly, we understand our players better, know what kind of content they are eagerly anticipating, and constantly think about what kind of content might surprise them even more. Considering that version 2.0 introduces a new country, some users might wish to experience this version as soon as possible and explore the previous versions when they have more time. Therefore, we've made it possible for everyone to directly experience the latest version, which lowers the barrier to entry. Whether they are new or old players, we hope to move them through this process and continuous effort. So again, that's great. You know, that kind of comment about them kind of thinking up of content to surprise players. It seems like they are generally trying to make the audience happy, and, you know, they know what, you know, makes the game good and what people actually want. It's just, when are they actually going to bring it out? And it seems like with like the gliding and everything like that, they have already brought out a lot of stuff that people have been wanting. So again, really, really cool. Now to say, what led and contributed to the problems that Wuthering Waves faced at launch, and how did you and the team react to the feedback internally? They said, if I were to put it simply, I believe all the issues ultimately stem from our understanding and approach. We must face the reality that the problems players have encountered reflect genuine shortcoming in our perception and abilities during the development process. There's no excuse for this, and we take full responsibility. But I have always believed by making space for reflection, we're able to make iterative corrections by being open to player feedback. This is only the solution. Agility is also part of our team's DNA. Rather than getting stuck on a 60 to 65 point experience in one aspect, it's better to focus on creating a 100 to 120 point experience in the future. So we chose to let users continuously experience the game's strength in subsequent versions. It's not that doing so is the best approach, it's just that it was our decision at the time and it's already happened. Fortunately, most of our corrections have been effective. Issues such as performance, storyline, localization, bug counts, and gameplay richness have indeed been progressing positively in each version. In every version, the changes made are backed up by player feedback and data. Overall, we're moving in the right direction, but we still need to continue improving. We're actually well suited to the task of creating a game that is constantly evolving. So again, I think that's really, really cool that they are trying to just improve the game overall. And they're not scared to show off that there are some kind of flaws with it and show the audience that they are making a better game and that they are trying to make these improvements. Again, really, really cool. Again, this article has been great so far. They say, what would you say to console gamers that are interested in trying Wuthering Waves but are worried about starting late and feeling behind? Well, they say, first of all, we deeply regret that we didn't have the ability to launch on consoles initially, which again, that's a very good apology there because, you know, a lot of people were mad that it wasn't out at the start, seeing as other games like Xenosaga Zero was out at that time. But they say, however, version 2.0 is a great point for players to enter Wuthering Waves as long as the player is interested. They can experience it right away. Oh wait, as long as the player is interested, they can experience it right away. So in terms of experiencing the latest content, I think it's relatively consistent. If players can find the content engaging enough, I believe they'll be willing to spend time to go back and experience the earlier content. We also much hope that more console users will come to experience Wuthering Waves and get to know the interesting game. So they feel like if players come over to the game, and if they like it enough, then they will just go back for that other content because they will, you know, like it enough to actually do that, which I think is a good kind of approach to take it at. They say, do you see Wuthering Waves coming to additional consoles in the future? They say, we will consider it, but it will require more time. The platforms we're currently operating and plan to release are already quite a few. The team's capacity is always limited, so we need to ensure that we can properly maintain these platforms first. I still believe that the game's stability and quality are the top priorities. Therefore, we'll focus on making sure that the current platforms are stable for a while before looking at any new ones, which again, I think that is also something that they brought up in the Chinese interview as well. They're looking for quality over quantity, which is a very, very good point. Now we keep going on to the last kind of question here. They say, what are the ambitions for future Resonators? How will new characters and fighting styles push Wuthering Waves combat system forwards? They say we have some very clear plans for the future of Resonators. Stronger interactions with players and other characters, which again, we've already had this in the other article for the CN article. I'm pretty sure maybe they took a little bit from the article. I'm not really sure how much this has been, you know, kind of copied and pasted over, but there is some new kind of stuff in here. They say more connections with the open world. We aim to reintegrate Resonators with the world as much as possible, rather than having them operate independently. We hope each Resonator is closely linked to certain elements of Solaris so players can experience a greater immersion and feel that of our Resonators are vivid and full of life. Then they go on to say introduction and evolution of new combat mechanisms. Frankly speaking, this is not easy, but we are exploring and researching internally. We all hope to be bold enough to in this endeavor. I believe we can act even faster in this area. Our goal is clear. This is our area of expertise, and we won't rest until the past accolade. We won't rest on past accolades. We will continue to bring more freshness to players. And then finally, they say more charming and stunning. From the appearance of the Resonators to action design and voice acting, will pursue higher quality expressions. Now, I'm pretty sure that was from the Chinese article as well. But overall, this is a really, really good kind of question and answer thing with Solon, the CEO of Kuro Games. So it is good to see that they're making a lot of these changes as well in the future. I know this is kind of quick fire of me just going through this and talking about it, but I hope that you guys are excited for Rinascita because I think that this, you know, kind of proves how much Kuro Games have been listening to a lot of the updates that are coming out and, you know, what the players are actually saying as well, because it just seems so much more down to earth than a lot of other companies that we've seen in the past, you know, not naming any names. But yeah, overall, a very, very good article. If you guys did enjoy this video, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And I'm sorry if some of this did include some of the Chinese article. I did kind of notice that some of the same points were coming across. But to be honest, I think it is a kind of fresh perspective from some of these other questions. For example, this one from Game Reader. So again, overall, really, really cool article. I definitely recommend you guys, you know, check out a lot more of these videos. Again, there'll be more videos on some of these interviews and everything like that, which I will keep covering because, again, it's very interesting. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed it, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments what you're most looking forward to, because, again, there's a lot of kind of updates that they kind of included down there. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.